Hello everyone, my name is Nathan Cook. I'm your host here today on Vista Talks Tech. I'm excited to have my guest here, Frank from Scale Computing. We're going to share with you a little bit about Scale Computing, their platform, what's going on in the world of hypervisors, especially how it relates to Scale with their solution. Our goal today, we're not going into any PowerPoints. We want to have a really good conversation and also give you an opportunity to submit any questions that you have that we may not have a chance to go through and some of the questions we came up with as we were just chatting before this. So if you do have any questions, make sure that you take and put those in the chat or through the Q&A poll, and we'll get those and make sure we go through those. Our content today, our goal is to be around 25-30 minutes. If you guys have a lot of questions, we have the ability to stay a little later to make sure that we get those answered for you. And of course, we can always have a follow-up conversation past that. In addition, I know if you're watching this live, a lot of you are excited about our cool little Scale Vista Lego sets that we're giving away. We do have a form that you're going to fill out at the end, so we make sure we know where to send it to. So please make sure that you stay on to get to that form so that we can get you that cool gift coming out of there. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Frank. If you could just kind of introduce yourself and your role over at Scale, please.
Yeah, so my name is Frank Seal. I'm one of the lead solution architects at Scale Computing. I've been there for a little over 10 years now. I've been in IT for around 20 years, and I'm most excited to try to get my Lego set at the end of this. This is what I'm here for.
Aren't we all? They're really cool, actually. It took a lot to manufacture those, but. So obviously we're here to talk about virtualization, right? So in a world where virtualization's it's a big topic of conversation. You look at VMware with Broadcom now, Hyper-V. What does Scale Computing just bring into that conversation? Why would I want to look at that? And just give me a broad overview of what it is that Scale Computing does.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, virtualization has been around for quite a long time now, right? But there's a lot of kind of disruption and turmoil of things that are going on, whether it is that Broadcom piece, or whether it is, hey, what is Microsoft doing with Hyper-V? Are they pushing it cloud or keeping it local? And so we've been that outsider, that kind of on-prem solution. So what we set out to achieve is create a virtualization platform that's rock solid, right? It's going to be very minimal when it comes to the cost, even acquisition and even maintaining it, but also very easy to manage. You know, if it's a great product and I get it dirt cheap, but man, I've got to spend every waking hour managing that thing. Was that a wise investment or not, right? And so we've wanted to create that universal platform that is very easy to build on, and also, very easy to set up and just hands off.
Absolutely. And so you talk about VMware. Everyone's heard of VMware. Everyone's heard of Microsoft Hyper-V, right?
Yep.
Not everyone's heard of Scale Computing. Yep. But I guess you guys aren't a new startup. This isn't something that came about a little while ago. You guys have been in business for quite a while and have done some pretty cool things in the space. So maybe you can speak to that and some of the successes that you've had, or a little bit along that journey.
Yeah. So Scale Computing as a company has been around since 2008. So we're not the new flash in the pan, try to take advantage of the situation, if you will. There.
Yeah.
Well-established company, thousands of customers. The product, the hyper-converged, the virtualization platform, we've been doing that since 2012. We've always been that VMware alternative. I know that's kind of the marketing buzzword now, but we've always been a KVM-based hypervisor, and that's from the genesis of our product here. And so because of that, that allows us a lot more freedom and flexibility, because we're not stuck within the rigid framework of all of these other kind of third-party systems on there. So whether it's kind of the built-in, we're able to do things like built-in replication for VR. We can touch on that later, but it does open up a lot more flexibility for our product and the feature sets, and all of those features are always included with the product. So that's always when we first talk to customers or prospects, that's the first thing is like, all right, it's great you're showing me this, but you're going to nickel and dime me for it, right? No, that's not the case.
Yeah, it was cool. We were just talking earlier, and we're talking about how these are one of the systems that Scale actually has, which we'll get into that. But you get all the same features on this as you would, a big, two-way box.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we try make sure that, hey, the feature set is the same across all families. So whether it is, hey, 12 drives in a big 2U box, or even if it's something as small and light as these guys, management is exactly the same. Functionality is exactly the same.
It brings us another great conversation, right? So it's KVM based, right? But if someone's looking at moving to a scale computing from one of the bigger names in the industry, how difficult is it to not only get stuff from one place over to the new place, but in addition, the learning curve on learning a new system? Because that's pretty intimidating, because one thing I know about people out in the IT world is they're not looking for more projects or things to do, right? They're already saying, hey, you just got 13 things added to your job already, with no extra time to do it and probably no extra pay to do it either. So what would you say to someone that's coming up with that idea?
Yeah, and that's usually kind of the number one fear when people first start talking to us, right? They hear it's KVM. The first thing they think of is Linux, command line. You got to grow a beard out. You kind of become a hermit.
Sudo this, sudo that.
Yeah. And so no, we've created a web interface on there to basically manage everything. So it's a very easy transition from folks that are maybe more of a Windows admin, right? When I first started playing with VMware a long time ago, there was still a lot of command line stuff that you had to do to get things right and kind of properly configured. And as it matured, it became more of that GUI management, and ours is much like that as well. So I don't have to set at the command line. There's a lot of automation that's in there that's self-triggered. So you'll find that there'll be less management coming from one of those other platforms than what you're used to. So a lot of people's like, dude, this is like virtualization cruise control.
That's nice.
So yeah, exactly. Especially for those folks that, as you mentioned, are kind of getting other job roles thrown on top of them, right? Hey, I'm the SAN administrator. I'm the VMware administrator. I'm doing help desk. I'm changing toner and printer, right? You getting thrown all of these tasks, right? And so next thing I want to do is, now I want to be a command line KVM admin and things of that nature. So having that level of automation in there is a great benefit that comes along with that KVM hypervisor that we've created.
And what you were talking about earlier too is that, if a small shop, the nice thing is you got that, I guess, one throat to choke when something goes wrong, because you don't need to learn storage for Electra and then manage your servers through iDRAC or any of that stuff. It's all built in that one thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I probably didn't even highlight that earlier. It is hardware and software all combined, right? So I don't have to go out and try to find the best of breed when it comes to that SAN storage that I'm looking for, right? Everybody has their favorites of that. Same thing with the host servers, right? I'm not shopping all of those guys. And then adding on that hypervisor software and all the third-party add-ons that go with it. So with this, it is that one unified platform to where, hey, once I'm there, my storage is there, my fresh new servers are part of it there. The hypervisor is already installed on it. All I need to do is give it IP addresses and it's ready to go. It says, all right, give me VMs. So very quick to get it deployed and up and operational there. But as you mentioned, when it comes to that support, now I don't have 4 different support contracts.
Because you're on the phone for an hour with one, and they're like, well, it's the other guy, and then vice versa.
Yeah, the finger pointing that goes on. Everybody's been part of that. You call this number, it's like, well, it's not us, it's the networking, right? Always networking.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's...
And it goes back, it was their fault.
Yeah. So yeah, we've tried to eliminate that as much as possible by consolidating everything.
That's awesome. And we were just talking, your customer service is pretty top notch, which everyone says, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I even challenge people out there. Google our support phone number. Give them a call, right? Our support is actually based at our headquarters. We're headquartered out of Indianapolis, Indiana, right? That's strange right there for a tech company, right? A Midwestern tech company. But yeah, based right there in Indianapolis, our support team, they're actually employees, right? We didn't outsource it overseas somewhere. It's not a staticky call number that you're listening to jazz music for 45 minutes to get through.
Yep.
You'll probably be on the phone with a tier 1 tech or better, probably within 5 or 6 rings, right? So
Wow.
you're not navigating that call maze. Say storage if you want this, right? So all of that is
talk to person. Which button is talk to person?
Operate.
Yeah.
Right. So we got rid of all that. So top-notch support. Everybody brags about it. If you go look at us on different user forums, whether it's Spiceworks, Trust Radius, Gartner, all that stuff, you'll see everybody bragging about their support experience because it's the way it used to be, right? I want that enterprise white glove level of support, and I can't brag about our support team enough. They do an excellent job. Constantly get a flood with emails daily of, hey, these guys and gals that are in the support team, they're rock solid. Don't change a thing.
Awesome, I love that. So you're talking about being an all-in-one solution, right? Everything's here. How does that work in a world where security is, I guess, a top concern for everyone? People worrying about, ransomware, being attacked, all that. If you put all that in that one basket, what does Scale do to, I guess, do its best to mitigate any of those issues?
Yeah. So one being kind of one vendor approach there. Now you don't have necessarily those incompatibilities of things, right? Back when I was a VMware admin, just patching was a nightmare, right? Because I've got vendor X has my storage backend, I've got host servers by here, I've got my hypervisor, and then they're going to release updates at all different time frames, and then you learn very quickly that you have to crack open that little README file and find at the bottom where it says known issues.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, well, I have that, so I've got to patch backwards from what I wanted to. So we have a very easy approach to even patching. It's 2 mouse clicks, right? And I updated my entire stack. Storage, the server hardware, hypervisor, management, things like that. That's all done in 2 clicks, and it's all compatible, or else it wouldn't show up there as an available update. Wow. So that's one thing, right, to kind of get ahead of any exploits as they come out, is that. But also within there, we have a very unique storage platform that's, again, unique to us here, to where, one, there is no storage protocols being used between the hosts. So that way there's nothing to kind of interfere, run any type of man-in-the-middle attack on, right? In fact, our storage, if you pull the disk out, there's no file system across there. It's pure block engine that we've created. So that kind of makes it very unique there as well. But the one thing that customers love is the ability to utilize snapshotting. Lots of hypervisors have snapshotting, but most of them are pretty limited to, hey, you can have 2 or 3 snapshots on there. Other than that, you're going to tank the performance. With us, you're not going to see that. So I can have a virtual machine. I can have hundreds, if not thousands, of snapshots on it. Different points of time. Every 15 minutes if I want to do it that way, once a day, how it is. So I can fill in the gaps and create more recovery points than I do with a traditional backup product. And again, this feature is just built into it, right? We're not charging you more to be able to do this.
It's in the little guys and the big guys.
But now I can have hundreds and hundreds of snapshots from, all throughout the day. So if ransomware does occur, those snapshots are untouchable, right? So
where do those sit?
Oh, they'll set within the storage tier. It's kind of isolated within there. Or if you want to, for disaster recovery purposes, again, built-in replication included with the product, right? Replicated off-site somewhere for safekeeping, different retention policy, all of that stuff. So yeah, you can do that. But the beauty of it is I can recover the VM to any point in time in about 7 seconds, right? So that way I'm not going back to midnight backups. I'm sorry guys, it would be 3 hours before I get that file back to you. Very simple. I can do it at the disk level. I can do the whole VM. I can set the old VM right next to the new VM. So a lot more flexibility than you'll see in any other platform there.
Wow, that's pretty neat. So we're talking about how it works with backup. one of the things we talked about too is just its interoperability and how it works with other products, right? I know if I'm using a certain software and I want to come to scale, there's some things that work well, there's some things that don't. How would I take what's my current stack and say, bring it to you guys and say, this is what we're running. How do we either use this with you guys, or how do we figure out what we need to use to make it work well with your platform?
So that's usually with that assessment, talking with those potential customers that say, hey, we want to come over. One is, how big of a drag and a pain is it to transition it over, right?
Yeah.
I think just earlier today I was having a discussion with some of your team on that. There was, hey, what's that migration like? What's the gotchas and things of that nature? I mean, unfortunately, there are some appliance VMs that, hey, they're almost coded for VMware.
Yeah.
Right? There's certain phone systems that I can think of by a switching company, right, that are pretty much, run on strictly VMware. Those might have some gotchas with it, but I would say 96% of everything can run on a KVM-based platform. Over the last 4 or 5 years, there have been a lot more. Used to be when I want to download that appliance, you had 2 options. You can get the Hyper-V version or the VMware version. There's a lot more that are adding things like the OpenStack, the KVM, all of that stuff within there. So you can do that, but we have tools that can actually do a lot of those conversions for the customer, right? It can migrate the VM over while it's still up and running. So it could be running on their Hyper-V or their VM platform. We have a tool that'll basically image it over to a VM on our platform while it's still functional. So it's doing its daily task, end users still writing, doing everything. And then once it's all in sync, all I need to do is the admin and say, hey, you know what, tonight at 9 o'clock, I'm going to make it go live on the Scale platform. And then when I trigger that, that's the only time there's an outage, is when I say, hey, 9 o'clock, flip over. What I do, shut off the old one, apply its IP, make everything that it was over there on this one, and I'm up and operational there. So sometimes you might, if you're used to running maybe the VMware branded drivers for some things, you can swap those out. We have tools that can swap that, but very easy transition. And then we have a tool for, if I download those appliance VMs, like I talk about, hey, maybe I want the new Fortinet firewall appliance. I can download it, whether it's a Hyper-V or a VMware format, and it'll convert that when you upload it to the cluster.
Okay. So looking at, again, that VMware like we're talking about there, if I'm a current VMware customer or a current Hyper-V customer, and I go to Scale, are there any features that I may be missing or be like, I guess it can't do that?
Yeah, if you're like at the highest levels of, say, VMware, right? The one thing that VMware has that I can think of right off the gate is, one, they have like the virtual switching, right?
Yep.
Some people like that virtual switching. I wasn't a fan of it when I was a VMware admin, but some people like that, to have that kind of, hey, it's a quick, easy way to kind of isolate stuff like that. With us, we do it on the physical switching layer, so that virtual switch is gone. Now, the network guys love us because, hey, we get rid of that software tier there.
Yeah.
But some of the VMware admins that feel like they're doing the networking, they kind of miss that. And the other thing I can think of that jumps out is like VMware has DRS, which is, hey, if a host is in trouble, I'm going to migrate this active VM over to the other host there. I would say that's probably about the only thing on feature parity wise that's kind of not in there.
And those ones are on the higher levels that you're talking about too.
Yeah, you usually got to have Enterprise Plus licensing, which I don't even know if they have that anymore.
Yeah, BCP, there's just so many acronyms I can't keep this straight.
Yeah, now it's foundations and things like that. Again, why do I have to keep track of licensing level to know what feature I have? Right? That's just another nonsensical thing.
Yeah.
They should call that ransomware, right? The software is there. Until I pay them, I don't get to use it.
You might have something there.
Yeah,
marketing teams need to get hold of that and do something, I'm sure. But so you talking about that, right? Obviously, a lot of reasons in the market why people are looking to look at other platforms at least. A lot of people are staying with VMware, which is it's a great platform, but what does the cost structure look like with scale? You know, are you guys subscription based? Are you perpetual? Are you what does that look like?
Yeah, so since it is kind of, hey, on-prem gear, the hardware, the software, there is no subscriptions, right? There is no kind of perpetual license. I mean, you own it, right? License it. You know, well, actually, really, the software is kind of baked into the product there. Really, the only ongoing cost that you would ever have is if you want the support, right? I can buy 3 years up front, or 5 years. If you pay that, then you don't owe a dime for the life of the gear, right? So no more kind of perpetual. We've got to keep cashing this PO out here because it's a subscription.
And ransoming the new feature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, to me, if it's something's cloud based, right? If I'm hosting my mail, in the cloud, having a subscription makes sense that way, right?
Yeah.
But if it's something that I own physically in my organization, I don't want to have to keep paying those reoccurring fees there over and over. And so we don't have that.
That's nice. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that. Yeah. So if I'm looking hyperconverged, I guess is when I think of hyperconverged, I think of expensive, right? Because a lot of times you see that you're like, oh, it's going to be price parity, whatever, and you get the quote, and it's like, so if someone's looking at what's your price going to look like versus some of the competitors out there, like in Nutanix or renewing their VMware.
Yeah. So in the early days of hyperconvergence, when it was that kind of buzzword, right? There was really only 3 or 4 players, right? Yeah. It was us, it was SimpliVity, it was Nutanix, and then out of those 3 that I just named, we were the only ones that wasn't necessarily chasing the Fortune 500 companies, right? The others, that's what they were going for. So the product was kind of priced and built for those type of budgets, right? Because that's what they're dreaming of there. We've always had that shift for mid-market, smaller organizations. I think our founder, Jeff Reedy, always said, I think this is the first computer system that's built for small business since IBM's AS400, right? And so, that's kind of, so that's kind of what it was like. It was like, hey, mid-sized organizations, small businesses, they have a lot of those needs that the large corporations have as well. They just don't have the staff, they don't have the budget. So that's kind of where we got our roots in. And so pricing reflected that, right? Yeah. So we have, a whole families of gear from the 5,000 series, the 3,000, 1,000, so we've got different families of gear, and a lot of that is kind of priced accordingly to those people. So, like I say, these are really competitive for maybe a small business. Like, hey, I've got a Dell tower and I run the free version of VMware,
which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, or Hyper-V or things like that, right? And it's like, I would love to have high availability, but I don't have the space or I can't afford that. That's where these things shine, right? I can displace that and have all of that feature set that I would have for the big, huge rack mount monsters that we have too. So yeah, pricing is we have a wide spectrum based on a lot of the families there, and a lot of it's really friendly. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking, I'm a small business and I have the opportunity to have, a big tower server, right? That's probably sitting in a closet somewhere and making a bunch of noise. And if the power supply goes bad on that or anything happens, I'm down. Yep. When you literally had hyperconvergence in your backpack as you brought these in here.
Yeah.
Have a few of these here that probably take a lot less power, I'd assume.
Oh yeah.
And you have all of that. So if one of these breaks, you're still up and running. You don't have any issues.
Yeah. And the funny thing is so
your hypervisor is included.
Yeah, it's in there. It's already. Basically, when you plug it in, I connect a monitor to it and a keyboard. All I have to do is give it an IP address, right? Give them an IP, and then you basically type a command that says go, and it does the rest of the work, right? From there, now I can just start importing virtual machines to it, right? So very quick to get it up and operational there. Like we were talking earlier, these little things are super surprising because a lot of people say, well, you can't run much on this, right?
Yeah, like, oh, this, I'm going to run my network on this little hockey puck, right?
My whole business is going to depend on this, right? So some of the use cases that we've ran across is, I mean, I've seen people do 25 user VDI sessions, full-blown desktop, Windows 10, Windows 11, 25 user sessions on a set of these, right?
Really?
Great experience, right? So small VDIs for remote offices works great for that. Factories, manufacturing, love this because now as machines have kind of changed over the years, it's no longer just a hydraulic press that's pounding out car hoods and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of robotics involved. There's a lot of sensitive gear that measures vibrations, temperatures, all that stuff. And so instead of trying to pipe 10 gig or 25 gig networking out to those machines out on the factory floor, that's expensive. It's a long haul, right? And so they're able to put singles or clusters of these kind of out with those PLCs, with those robots, and get that real-time analytics from there and put it on a completely separate network, right? Keep that factory floor separate from the back office and all that. And then the one that amazes me the most is the cargo ships, that haul all of those things from back and forth across the ocean. 3 or 4 of these runs an entire cargo ship with all the GPS navigation, engine monitoring, all of that. And so now if old systems they had, if one died, they'd have to anchor the ship, wait for sometimes days for a helicopter to show up with a guy and a hard drive to say, hey, I'm here to replace your bad hard drive, right? And so now with these, hey, if this dies, falls in the ocean, whatever it is, doesn't matter. They can keep sailing on because everything automatically fails over.
That's cool.
Keeps running.
Wonder how much extra helicopter support is for a service contract.
Yeah. I wonder what the SLA is for that, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's not, teach their own. That's cool, though. So where is scale? We've talked a little bit, and you guys are growing like crazy right now, and a lot of that has come because of the Broadcom VMware situation. Yeah, MVP.
Yeah.
So where are some of the places that people are finding the most value in scale? What type of situations or what type of companies? Where who's loving you?
Yeah. There's a lot in the retail and like fast food space, right? Especially with these. Again, I know we keep harping on these.
I mean, if we had the big one sitting here, we might harp on those too.
But that's kind of growing leaps and bounds because again, like AI is kind of taking over everything.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you guys have seen like videos of like Taco Bell now has like AI drive-throughs, right? You drive up and it sounds like a real teenage girl like in the thing, but it's computer animated, right? An AI voice that's asking you.
Now the computers know what my Taco Bell order is?
Yeah, late at night. They know that you're out there. But things like that where, hey, I've got thousands of these locations and none of them have server rooms, right? It's a Taco Bell, right? And so what they'll do is like strap or Velcro these to a back wall somewhere or manager's little office thing. And run the entire restaurant. Same thing with grocery stores, gas stations, things like that. They love those things. We have a cloud-based management suite for them as well. So that way I can be setting at corporate headquarters and still easily connect in one click to these locations wherever they are, manage it, tweak VMs, whatever resources I need to. They didn't have to have VPNs. I didn't need to have all kinds of clients involved to make that happen. But also, I mean, even those small, mid-sized businesses that are buying those traditional gear, they're finally, waving the white flag. They're sick of the licensing costs creeping up on them constantly, and so they want something that's a bit more, I guess, solid and just, hey, I just want it there. I want it to be rock solid. I don't want to have to massage it all day long. And so we're seeing a big increase in that as well too. People that finally say, hey, all right, this is the last straw. I'm moving away from that to this.
Makes sense. So any closing thoughts that we maybe didn't get a chance to chat about? And then I'm going to pop on here and look at the questions while you go through that.
Yeah, I would say the edge computing space is something that you'll hear a lot more of. That's kind of the new buzzword. I mean, it's probably been out for a year or two now, but that's kind of in the enterprise space. Edge computing is the one, and we're the leaders in that because of this small platform. I don't think there's any other virtualization product that fits on this small of resources there. So basically, we can fit anywhere you want, whether it's in the data center, whether it's distributed remote offices, or even if it's just little small areas within an office, like in a factory or something like that. So edge doesn't necessarily mean I have to be a global gas station with 5,000 sites. Edge could mean, hey, I'm a plastic manufacturing place that has a server room, but I've got 4 or 5 locations around the factory that I actually need some kind of compute at.
Gotcha. So really anywhere that has a lot of branch offices, right? And so if I have multiple locations and they're all different sizes, right? Then I can use this at some. I can use some of the bigger appliances at other locations. I can still manage it all from that single point.
Yeah, it doesn't matter the platform, whether it's the small or the big. User face is the same. User interface is the same. Management's the same. Features are the same.
Awesome.
It's just, hey, I'm not going to get 200 terabytes in this, right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's getting close.
It's getting crazy. All right, well, we're going to launch the poll right now. I have one question, I think, so far. If you have any other questions, please type them in here real quick, and then we'll go through those. But we're going to launch the poll now, so make sure you fill that out. Let's see, we got a question from Todd here. Is it possible to live migrate VMs from Hyper-V?
With the tool we have, it won't be a live migrate. What will happen is with that tool that we have, it'll image everything over while it's still running, but there will be an outage window when you say, hey, all right, the one on the Scale platform, I want it to go live, right? That outage window is typically 8 to 10 minutes that we see, because what it'll do is it'll cut the power to the original VM, it'll apply its IP address to this one, and if it's a Windows VM, it'll kind of do some registry changes there, and then it does a reboot. And so all of that typically equates to about 8 to 10 minutes to make that switch. So there will be a small gap. It won't
live-ish.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Zombie-ish. Yeah, it's not alive, it's not dead.
the living dead.
Yeah.
We're coming up with all these marketing buzzwords here. We got the zombie migration, all that stuff. Awesome. Well, I think we're wrapped up. I don't see any other questions coming through. So thanks for your time. As a next step, what we'd love to do is get a chance to show you through the platform. You have more questions. We do have a couple of these here actually on site here that we can give you a demo for, show you how they work, and answer any questions that you have about Scale or really just general hypervisor strategy. What should I do if my bills went up 5x for what we're doing? So we'd love spending some time with you, and with that, we'll have a great day, and we'll hopefully see you at the next one. We do have another webinar coming up in December where we're actually going to be sitting down with VMware and asking them some questions. So with that,
I'll be there for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank, come along. He wants to thank him. Have a blessed day. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you later.